Most people have no idea this date is special. In 2001, the mint produced far fewer Sacagawea dollars for circulation because public demand for the golden dollar had dropped sharply. That makes the 2001 P one of the tougher Sacagawea dates to find in everyday change. A rare error version can be worth up to $4,000. This coin has two things working in its favor. First, it is a genuine key date with a much lower mintage than earlier years. Second, look for a die crack. As the die wears out under pressure, it can develop a crack that fills with metal during striking. That leaves a raised line on every coin struck afterward. On some 2001 P dollars, these raised cracks appear through the lettering or across Sacagawea's portrait. First, check the date. If it says 2001, you already have one of the scarcer Sacagawea dollars. Then inspect the coin carefully. Look for raised lines running through Liberty, the date, or other parts of the design. Gently run your fingernail across the line. A genuine die crack is raised and can usually be felt, while a scratch is cut into the surface. A 2001 P dollar with a clear raised die crack is the combination collectors look for. Because relatively few 2001 P Sacagawea dollars entered circulation, high-grade examples are already more desirable than many other dates. A strong die crack makes the coin even more appealing because it attracts both date collectors and error collectors. A high-grade 2001 P Sacagawea dollar with a bold obverse die crack was reportedly discovered in an old bank bag, authenticated by a grading service, and sold for $4,000. Check every 2001 P Sacagawea dollar you find. If it has a clear raised die crack, it could be worth up to $4,000. But the next dollar has a dramatic error across the eagle that collectors pay thousands to own.
Penny looks completely ordinary. The reverse shows 1 cent above 2 maple leaves, the date below the left leaf, Canada across the bottom, and the small designer initials beside the right leaf. Millions of people have seen this design. Very few have examined the date closely enough to recognize the differences between normal wear, machine damage, and a real mint variety. The first feature to inspect is known as the doubled 197. Place the coin under a strong light. Use at least 5 times magnification. Focus on the first 3 digits of the date. Look along the edges of the 1, 9, and 7. A genuine doubled feature may show an additional raised outline, separation, or a repeated portion of the design. The extra image should rise above the coin's surface because it was created by the die. Do not confuse this with a flat shelf beside the number. Flat, smeared, or shelf-like doubling is commonly associated with strike movement or die deterioration. It may look dramatic in a photograph, but collectors usually pay more for clear, separated, raised doubling. The second feature is the doubled 7. Inspect the upper horizontal bar and diagonal stem of the final 7. Look for a second raised edge running beside the original number. Compare its height and texture with the main digit. A scratch will cut into the metal. Real doubling is part of the raised design. The third error to inspect is a rotated die. Hold the coin upright with the queen's portrait facing you. Pinch the top and bottom between 2 fingers. Flip it vertically, like turning a page from bottom to top. The reverse should appear in its expected upright position. If the maple leaves and lettering are noticeably rotated, the dies may have been misaligned when the coin was struck. A small rotation may attract limited interest. A dramatic rotation can become far more collectible, especially when the coin is certified and the rotation is measured. The fourth possibility is a clipped planchette. Before a coin is struck, blank metal discs are punched from large metal strips. If one punch overlaps an area already cut from the strip, the next blank may be missing a curved section. A genuine curved clip normally has a smooth, rounded missing area. The rim opposite the clip may also appear weak because metal did not flow normally during the strike. This is different from someone cutting or grinding the coin later. Post-mint cutting usually leaves sharp edges, tool marks, or disturbed metal. Now comes the rarity question. A normal circulated 1975 cent is not rare. The date alone does not create a jackpot. Even attractive uncirculated examples usually sell for modest amounts. The premium comes from a strong identifiable error, excellent preservation, original surfaces, and third-party certification. Auction information shows how large the gap can be between hype and reality. Certified MS-67 examples have averaged roughly 457 Canadian dollars. A doubled 197 example graded MS-66 recorded around 100 Canadian dollars. A doubled 7 graded MS-66 recorded around 70 Canadian dollars. Those are meaningful premiums for a 1-cent coin, but they are nowhere near $126,500. That distinction matters. An online seller can ask any price. An asking price proves nothing. A completed certified auction sale is stronger evidence because it shows what an actual buyer paid. Look again at the 1975 coin in the image. Its dark areas, uneven color, and surface marks appear consistent with circulation and environmental exposure. Those features may make the coin visually interesting, but they do not automatically create an error. The correct approach is simple. Inspect the date for raised doubling. Test the die rotation. Examine the edge for a natural curved clip. Then inspect the queen's portrait for any repeated design. Never clean it. Never polish it. Never scrape away dark material. Cleaning can remove the original surface and reduce collector interest. Comment the word maple if you have now checked a 1975 penny under magnification. That tells me you are actually inspecting the coin instead of guessing from its color. Next, we move to a 1974 cent connected with one of the strangest documented combinations in this group. Research basis, 1975 auction averages, and recorded double date sales.
Number 2. The year 2000 Sacagawea dollar. The one with the beautiful flying eagle on the back. But one famous version has a flaw so distinct that collectors gave it a name, the Wounded Eagle, and it can be worth up to $6,000. This error is a die gouge, a deep scraper mark formed in the die itself, usually caused by damage or debris inside the striking equipment. On the Wounded Eagle variety, that gouge appears in a very specific location. It runs into the eagle's belly, creating the appearance of a spear or arrow piercing the bird. Because the flaw is in the die, every coin struck from that die shows the same raised mark in the same place. To check your coin, flip the year 2000 Sacagawea dollar to the flying eagle side. Look closely at the eagle's lower body beneath the wing. If you see a raised line or spike extending up into the eagle's belly, you may have the Wounded Eagle variety. Gently run your fingernail across the line. A genuine die gouge is raised above the surface, while an ordinary scratch is cut into the coin. The stronger and clearer the raised spike, the more collector interest the coin usually receives. The Wounded Eagle is one of the most famous Sacagawea dollar errors ever discovered. Collectors specifically search for this variety because it is easy to recognize and has a memorable story behind it. Strong, well-defined examples are much scarcer than ordinary Sacagawea dollars found in circulation. A high-grade year 2000 Sacagawea dollar with a bold Wounded Eagle die gouge was reportedly found by a collector searching bankrolls. After professional authentication, the coin sold for approximately $6,000. So if you have a year 2000 Sacagawea dollar, flip it over and inspect the eagle's belly carefully. A clear raised spear-like mark could be the famous Wounded Eagle variety, but the next dollar is even more famous. It became one of the most talked about golden dollar errors ever discovered, and the story began with the cereal box promotion. Quick pause, because I want to hear from you right now. Go grab one golden dollar. Any Sacagawea or Native American dollar from your drawer or your jar, and tell me the year in the comments below. Just the year. I read every single comment, and I will tell you exactly what error to hunt for on that specific dollar. So drop your year down there right now, and if this is helping you, tap that like button. It genuinely helps me warn more people before these coins vanish for good. Okay, back to the hunt. And number 1 is worth more than the last 2 combined.
The 1946 penny belongs to the King George VI period. Its age makes it appealing, but age alone does not create high value. Most circulated examples survived in large numbers. The difference between a low-value worn coin and a serious collector coin is usually surface preservation, original color, strike quality, and certification. The first feature to inspect is the doubled 46. Focus on the final 2 digits of the date. Search the curved portion of the 6 and the vertical and angled parts of the 4. A true doubled feature should have raised separation. It should not look like a flat scrape beside the digit. A certified MS64 example identified as double 46 recorded a sale around 22 Canadian dollars. That is a premium over many ordinary circulated examples, but it shows that not every double date becomes a fortune. The second feature is a die clash beneath the maple leaves. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a blank between them. Each die may receive a faint impression of the opposite design. Later coins can show unexpected raised lines or shapes in areas where they do not belong. On a 1946 cent, inspect the open field beneath and around the maple leaves. Also, inspect the obverse around King George's portrait for faint elements of the reverse. A die clash is not the same as a scratch. A clash transfers part of an opposite die design. It may repeat a recognizable curve, letter fragment, or leaf shape. A scratch is normally random and cuts into the surface. The third category includes die cracks and die chips. Inspect around the lettering on the obverse, especially near Georgiev's, Rex, and the lower part of the portrait. On the reverse, inspect the letters in cent and the leaves. A die crack creates a raised line because metal flows into a crack in the die. A scratch creates an incuse line because material is removed from the coin. The fourth feature is a planchy flaw. Copper-based planchies can contain impurities, laminations, rough areas, or sections where the metal separates. A genuine lamination may look like a thin layer peeling away from the surface. The affected metal should still appear consistent with the coin's composition. Corrosion can imitate this appearance. Green powder, pitting, and soft crumbly areas are usually environmental damage rather than a mint-created lamination. Now comes the auction story. Certified auction records show a massive difference between ordinary and exceptional 1946 cents. Many MS63 and MS64 examples trade for only modest amounts. MS65 examples average much more. One MS66 example recorded approximately 3,272 Canadian dollars. Specimen examples have also brought substantial premiums, with recorded sales above $1,000 and some higher grade examples above $2,000. Why? Because copper is unforgiving. A coin may leave the mint bright red. Then fingerprints, humidity, storage chemicals, friction, and cleaning permanently change its surface. Surviving for decades with strong original color and very few marks is far rarer than surviving as a worn brown penny. This means a flawless-looking 1946 cent should not be handled by the face. Hold it only by the edge. Store it in an inert holder. Do not wipe dust from it. Even a soft cloth can create hairline scratches. The 1946 penny in your image appears worn and brown, with flattened details on the maple leaves and lettering. It is still an authentic historical coin, but the photograph does not show the preservation associated with the record-setting certified examples. That does not mean you should ignore it. Check the date for double digits. Examine beneath the leaves for clash marks. Search the obverse for raised die cracks. Inspect the edge and surface for a genuine planche flaw. Then compare it with a normal 1946 cent. Error identification becomes easier when you have a control coin beside it. Comment King George if you have any Canadian penny showing King George VI. Positive comments like that help collectors connect with one another and compare dates without making fake claims. Our final coin is the oldest in this group. It also has the highest regular high-grade guide value among these 5 dates, but condition remains everything. Research basis, 1946 value guide, auction averages, double 46, die clash.
Number 1. The year 2000 Cheerios dollar. This is the crown jewel. The single most valuable Sacagawea dollar you could realistically hope to find. Its story is almost unbelievable. In the year 2000, General Mills placed newly released Sacagawea dollars inside millions of Cheerios cereal boxes as part of a promotion. Years later, collectors discovered that some of those promotional coins were different. They were struck from an early reverse design with enhanced tail feathers. Today, authenticated examples can be worth up to $25,000. The difference is all in the eagle's tail feathers. Most year 2000 Sacagawea dollars have a standard reverse with relatively simple tail feather details. But the special Cheerios dollars were struck using an early reverse design that shows much sharper and more detailed tail feathers. The extra feather detail is the key feature that separates these rare coins from ordinary circulation pieces. To check your coin, flip it to the eagle side and examine the tail feathers carefully. Compare the feather detail to a normal year 2000 Sacagawea dollar. On an ordinary coin, the tail feathers appear simpler and less defined. On a genuine Cheerios dollar, each feather displays bold, sharply defined raised lines with noticeably stronger detail. If your coin has unusually detailed tail feathers, it deserves a closer look and professional authentication. Only a limited number of these special promotional dollars entered circulation through the Cheerios giveaway, and far fewer have been confirmed today. Their unusual history and distinctive reverse design have made them one of the most sought-after modern United States coin varieties. One authenticated year 2000 Cheerios dollar with the enhanced tail feather reverse was reportedly kept for years by its original owner, who believed it was simply part of the cereal promotion. After experts confirmed the rare reverse design, the coin sold at auction for $25,000.
In high-grade sales. The 1969 Canadian penny is one of the easiest dates to exaggerate because it appears old, it is made from a copper-based alloy, and many circulated examples show unusual surface marks. But the ordinary 1969 cent is not rare. More than 335 million were produced, making the date widely available. Its value comes from exceptional condition or a genuine mint-created variety, not simply from the year 1969. The first variety to inspect is the doubled 1969 date. Place the coin under magnification and focus on each digit. Look for repeated raised portions along the outer edges. The strongest areas may appear around the curves of the 9 and 6 or along the vertical stem of the 1. However, the recorded 1969 double date variety has also been described as die deterioration doubling. That means collectors must be careful. Die deterioration can produce thick, distorted, or shelf-like edges rather than the clean separation expected from a classic double die. Do not automatically label every thick digit a double die. The second error is a clipped planche. Inspect the entire edge. Look for a smooth, curved section missing from the blank. Check for weakness opposite the clip. A clip that removes part of the date or lettering may be visually dramatic, but authentication still matters. A person can cut a normal penny in seconds. Certification is what separates a recognized mint error from altered metal. The third possibility is an off-center strike or partial collar. An off-center strike occurs when the blank is not centered correctly between the dies. Part of the design may be missing while an unstruck area remains visible. The value often depends on the percentage off-center and whether the full date remains readable. A partial collar occurs when the coin is not fully seated inside the collar during striking. Part of the edge may appear wider or stepped. Collectors sometimes call this a railroad rim appearance. The fourth and most exciting error is a flip over double strike. A flip over double strike occurs when a coin receives one strike, moves or flips, and is struck again. Portions of the design may appear on both sides in unusual orientations. A certified 1969 Canadian cent described as a flip over strike had a clear date on each side and was graded MS63 red by PCGs. Heritage Auction sold it for $184 in 2005. Another certified flip over double strike later sold for approximately $276. Those prices are not remotely close to $126,500, but the errors are still desirable because the minting sequence can be read directly from the coin. To inspect for a double strike, look beyond the date, search for repeated leaf outlines, look for fragments of letters where they do not belong. Check whether part of the queen's portrait appears underneath or across another design. The secondary design should be raised and connected to the minting process. Random scratches crossing the coin do not form complete letters, digits, or portrait features. Now inspect the 1969 coin shown in your image. The reverse appears worn, with pale green or gray material near the right maple leaf and rim. That may be corrosion, residue, or environmental damage. It is not enough to identify a mint error. The date looks worn rather than sharply doubled in this single photograph. A close macro image of the date and both sides would be required before making a stronger judgment. A normal circulated 1969 cent may be worth only a few cents. A certified high-grade example may bring more. The price guide lists the doubled 1969 variety around 141 Canadian dollars in MS66, while ordinary MS66 examples are far lower. The difference is not the story someone tells about the coin. The difference is the physical evidence on the coin. If you have a 1969 penny, photograph the date directly from above. Do not tilt the camera. Use side lighting from one direction. Then take a second photograph with the light coming from the opposite direction. True rays doubling remains visible. Shadows caused by damage often change dramatically. Comment double strike if this is the first time you have learned how a coin can show a date on both sides. Next is the 1946 cent, where preservation can matter more than the small errors themselves. Research Basis 1969 Mintage, Varieties, Price Guide, and Heritage flip over strike records. The 1974 cent becomes interesting because collectors have documented several different error types for this date, including rotated dies, clipped planches, and an extraordinary bonded planche combination involving cent and 10-cent material. Start with the date. Inspect all 4 digits, especially the final 4. Look for extra raised metal separated outlines, or portions of a digit appearing more than once. Small die chips may form near the numbers as a die begins to crack or break. A chip normally appears as an added raised lump. Damage to the coin usually appears as a cut, gouge, or flattened area. Next, examine the rim. A normal coin should have a reasonably complete circular rim. If part of the rim is missing, determine whether the metal was absent before striking or removed afterward. A genuine clipped planche often creates a smooth missing curve. The design near the clip may be weak, and the opposite rim may show reduced pressure. A coin damaged with pliers or machinery after leaving the mint may have crushed metal, sharp bends, or irregular tearing. The third test is die rotation. Use the same vertical flip method. Keep the reverse portrait upright. Flip the coin from top to bottom. Watch where the reverse design lands. A dramatic rotation is easier to authenticate than a tiny misalignment. Photograph both sides in the same holder so the angle can be demonstrated clearly. The fourth and most unusual possibility is a bonded planche or wrong planche combination. A documented 1974 Canadian cent was described as struck on bonded cent and 10-cent planche material with a recorded weight of approximately 5.4 grams. This is not something that can be identified from color alone. The first warning sign is abnormal weight. A standard Canadian cent from this period is approximately 3.24 grams. A substantially heavier coin deserves further examination, particularly when the diameter, edge, metal, or strike also appears unusual. Use a digital scale capable of reading to at least 1/100th of a gram. Calibrate the scale first. Weigh a normal cent of the same period for comparison. Then inspect the edge. A bonded or unusual planche may show an unexpected seam, layered appearance, abnormal thickness, or metal that does not match a regular cent. Do not pry at the edge, do not file it. Do not perform an acid test. Destructive testing can ruin the coin and its evidence. Now consider rarity. A normal 1974 cent is common. A high-grade red example becomes scarcer because copper reacts quickly with handling, moisture, and air. A dramatic mint error is scarcer still because it had to escape quality control and survive without being damaged. Auction averages show MS67 examples around 657 Canadian dollars. Recorded rotated die pieces have been much lower, around 26 to 65 Canadian dollars depending on grade. The bonded cent and 10-cent planche error graded MS62 recorded approximately 649 Canadian dollars. This auction result teaches an important lesson. A dramatic description does not guarantee a six-figure price. Market value depends on eye appeal, certification, rarity within the error class, and how many serious bidders are competing at that moment. The 1974 coin shown in your image has dark brown surfaces, heavy circulation wear, and large areas where the original detail is weak. That alone does not prove a mint error. Inspect the rim. Check the rotation. Weigh the coin. Look for added raised metal rather than scratches. Also inspect the small initials beside the right maple leaf. Those letters are part of the original design. They are not evidence that the coin came from a secret mint. This is where many viral coin videos go wrong. They circle a normal design element, call it an error, attach a fantasy value, and mislead thousands of viewers. Do not become that collector. Become the person who can explain why a feature is a genuine mint error. Weigh it in the comments if you have a digital coin scale. That positive comment will also help other collectors realize that weight is one of the strongest first tests for an unusual planche. The next coin has a documented flip over double strike that can be recognized without guessing. Research basis: 1974 certified auction averages, rotated die records. In the bonded cent and 10-cent planche sale. This penny was struck during the Second World War. That history gives it emotional appeal, but the date itself was produced in enormous numbers. More than 89 million 1943 cents entered circulation. A worn example is therefore not rare simply because it is more than 80 years old. The first feature to inspect is a die chip on the number 4. Place the date under magnification. Look inside and around the 4 for an added raised lump of metal. A die chip occurs when a small piece breaks away from the die. During striking, metal flows into that damaged area, leaving a raised blob or filled section on the coin. A dent will push metal inward, a die chip adds raised metal. The second error is a die clash above the date or beneath the leaves. Inspect the open fields carefully. Look for faint raised shapes that resemble portions of the opposite design. Because clash marks can be weak, change the lighting angle. Do not increase image sharpness so aggressively that digital artifacts appear. A real clash must exist on the physical coin, not only after editing. The third feature is a die crack. Known examples have shown cracks near lettering, around the portrait, and near the leaves. Trace any raised line from one design element toward another. Die cracks often begin near the rim or connect letters. A dark line alone proves nothing. Corrosion can create channels. Dirt can settle into scratches. The line must be raised above the surrounding field. The fourth possibility is a flawed planche. Inspect for rough metal, laminations, missing flakes, or areas that appear to have separated before or during striking. Again, do not confuse this with decades of environmental corrosion. Corrosion usually attacks the exposed surface irregularly and may produce pits or green deposits. A planche flaw is part of the metal itself and may continue underneath the struct design. Now consider the value. A heavily worn 1943 cent may retail for less than $2 Canadian. Mint state values rise sharply, particularly when the coin retains strong red color. The price guide lists an MS65 example around 216 Canadian dollars and an MS66 example around 3,980 Canadian dollars. Heritage Auction sold a PCG's MS65 red example with full brilliant luster for $276 in 2006. The auction story proves the central point of this entire video. The year does not create the value by itself. A 1943 cent can be worth pocket change, a few dollars, hundreds, or potentially several thousand in exceptional certified condition. But there is no credible evidence that an ordinary 1943 Canadian penny is worth $126,500. The Canadian cent that genuinely reached six figures was the legendary 1936 dot cent. One example sold for $246,750 in 2013. Another famous example brought $402,500 in 2010. That is a different date, a different rarity, and a completely different historical situation. Never transfer the auction value of one famous coin onto an unrelated penny. The 1943 coin shown in your image has dark spots, reddish patches, wear, and uneven surfaces. Those details should be examined closely, but they appear more consistent with circulation and environmental exposure than with a dramatic six-figure mint error. Still, inspect the four. Search for raised die chips. Check the fields for clash marks. Look for raised cracks. Examine the planche under angled light. And if you believe you have a major error, do not sell it to the first person who sends you a private message. Take clear photographs of both sides. Record the weight and diameter. Protect the coin. Then consult a recognized grading service or reputable Canadian error specialist. I am not the owner of these coins. I am the guide showing you what evidence must exist before a value claim deserves to be believed. Now tell me in the comments which of these 5 years you own. Write 1943, 1946, 1969, 1974, or 1975. I read the comments, and your year may become the subject of the next inspection guide. Like this video if it helped you separate real mint errors from ordinary damage. Follow Coin Hunt Daily on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube for more coin guides based on genuine varieties and documented auction records. And share this video with one person who keeps old Canadian pennies. They may not have a six-figure coin, but they could still have an error worth identifying properly.